Good morning, and thank you very much for joining us. I am Yori Folarin. We're going to continue where we left off yesterday because the furore over the acquittal, is that the right word? Well, let me just say this. Yes, he was discharged and acquitted, talking about Senator Saraki and the Senate President. There's been quite a furore about it, but you recall that the 18-count charge against him at the Code of Conduct Tribunal has been thrown out. No case. That was Saraki's submission. No case. And indeed, Justice Danladi Umar, the head of the two-panel, tribunal, had agreed with him. But there's been a furore after that. In fact, one of the uptakes of all of this is that the Socio-Economic Rights and Accountability Project set up, we'll have somebody from there shortly on the program, has opined that the acquittal yesterday of the Senate President at the Code of Conduct Tribunal of corruption charges suggests serious shortcomings in the criminal justice system. And they think that that therefore begins to call for an additional layer, something like a UN-backed commission of inquiry to sort of shore up our legal system. Okay, let's look at that, and let's look at how it's going, and also perhaps why the furore, since it was a court of competent jurisdiction. No, not a court actually, a tribunal, you get what I mean, but it was a high court judge that was in there. Well, my guest this morning, the first of them, is Mr. Ayo Okwadukun, convener of the Coalition of Democrats for Electoral Reform, and he knows, he knows the principle in this particular case very, very well, being a proud co-indigene of Kwara State with him. Thank you very much for coming on, Mr. Okwadukun.
Thank you very much. Now, you also should remember that I'm equally a lawyer.
Indeed.
Of over 30 years post-call.
Yes.
So and a journalist.
Indeed. Thank you very much for adding those, but I took it for granted that it goes without saying. But yes, one can't be, thank you very much for bringing those things in.
So that is to let the viewers, to remind the viewer that I will not be talking jazz. Yes. I'll be talking law, yes, and the politics of it.
Now, fine, especially the law part. This Code of Conduct Tribunal, Justice Danladi Umar said, the case has not been proved, therefore it was, thrown out. And since then, as you know, the furore has not stopped. Even as we speak, people are still stamping their foot in indignation, some in frustration, metaphorically speaking. How do you see it? Because this was submitted to justice, and justice came back with no case.
Well, first, there should be some preliminary matters to sort out, Yori, if you permit me.
Sure.
I'd like to presage my contribution by saying this ruling was a judicial self-inducting judgment with great repercussion and consequences. There are matters that must, therefore, be raised.
Yes.
I start by asking, is the Nigerian government not complicit in what really transpired that led to this awkward and legally indefensible ruling?
Okay.
By the Code of Conduct Tribunal? But that's, please, sorry,
sir, I just wanted to get in there that eminent lawyers, a few of them, as far as I could have found, have also hailed this judgment. But the overwhelming majority of people have issues with it. But there are some lawyers who have said this is indeed what should have happened.
I am saying, I'm querying, and I'm asking this pertinent question. Is it a confirmation that the Buhari government's proudly announced commitment to fight corruption, a ruse, a gimmick to deceive the public, has been canvassed by opponents of the campaign against corruption? As the Attorney General of the Federation, really proving himself capable, efficient, not complicit in the totality of what happened at that tribunal and the judgment? Is that judgment not a total empowerment, emboldening the perverts in our society, the corrupt elite that corruption pays in Nigeria? They should go ahead. Is it not remarkable that by this judgment, where it is being registered that the elite, the thieving elite, are united in all arms of government where they occupy, along with their collaborators who are not in government, who are benefiting from this vicious circle? I'd like to say, therefore, that before we examine what happened legally, I read through the judgment. And that was why, when if you read the Punch front page story yesterday, myself and Transparency International said it was a sad day for Nigeria that kind of ruling emanated from the Code of Conduct Tribunal.
Okay.
I am mindful of whatever I say as a lawyer. I'm not about to impugn the integrity and the honor that is supposed to be associated with those who preside in our court of law. But
I wonder what you make of. I wonder what you make of the evidence that must have been before the tribunal.
No, please let me end up before going to that.
Yes.
What is by that ruling? Is it not an affirmation that the Nigerian judiciary is becoming a refuge to hide for scoundrel, the perverts who have stolen Nigeria blue, and they find comfort because they know that their compeers, their collaborators, fellow acolytes are in charge of the courts, and they can always get away with anything.
Okay, thank you very much. And that particular charge, this one that you have just laid, the very last one, I wonder how you will now square the evidence that must have been before his lordship, upon which he took a decision. It must have been reasoned from his point of view. What do you make of that?
Thank you very much. When I read through the judgment, the first one, the most important one that Justice Daladi raised was that the what they call the form, declaration of asset form that was filled by Dr. Bukola Saraki was not accompanied by a statement from him. That was what he considered to be the most important thing, why there was no charge leveled against Saraki. And I thought that was a miscarriage of justice. It was a terribly deficient understanding of the state of the law. Leaders ought to be told that the declaration of asset form itself is on oath already signed by a high court judge. And whenever anybody swear on oath, it is an affirmation that what you are saying is the whole truth and nothing but the truth. It does not require any collaboration, any corroboration. Your additional statement is not legally required. That is the first fundamental error in that judgment. And I dare say that the Nigerian state, this is one of the matters where the appeal that they will make to the higher bench, to their court, the Court of Appeal, must be fundamentally tight, well scripted, to point out this error of judgment and misuse of the discretion granted to those who preside in our court.
Okay, so maybe you can help me then, because it must be that my understanding of it was wrong. When we asked a legal mind, he had said he was doubtful that that route we could go down that route because the matter would, you know, in short, end up back before his lordship.
I don't know what how do you mean?
How will he now? That's why I'm wondering if my understanding is correct, that there's no how you escape this particular, you know, bench when you go back to appeal, and how can you expect him to overrule himself? So
no, he's not. Nobody. He's already functions of official. He cannot say anything, do anything over the judgment any longer.
Okay.
He's functions official.
Okay, so it don't go back to
no,
him
you don't
go.
You don't go
so
back.
it's going outside of the tribunal.
Of the tribunal.
It's now going to the proper high court.
Yes, no, he's going to the court of appeal.
Sorry, the court of appeal.
Court of appeal. And I must.
That is if it does go, because government lawyers said they were studying it.
No, certainly they must go. We, those of us who are committed towards transparency, will not allow this any government to get away with murder. To allow this one to go this way is a total decimation of the image and reputation of the Nigerian state. I must remind the current political rulers, this government in particular, that the only thing going on for it is the commitment, the accepted commitment of General Buhari to fight corruption to a standstill. That he is a long distance runner in the commitment to fight corruption, not a relay racer. They cannot tire him out.
Okay.
And that's why, even look, the latest report of Transparency International, Nigeria is not within the gap of the most corrupt nations of the world. For this time, that is to show how important General Buhari's disposition and his effort had been over the overall understanding and the look which the international community is looking at Nigeria. The fact that quite a few important industries, investors are coming is because they have found somebody in the person of General Buhari, assisted by an able professional, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, determined to fight corruption in all its ramifications. So they cannot delay. There's no room for delay. They must put the acts together. And I'm calling on Professor Ise Sage's committee on corruption to parley and works diligently with the lead prosecutor, Mr. Rotimi Jacob-San, to do a diligent draft and presentation of an appeal that cannot be watered by anybody.
Okay. Now, two things are coming out. Well, a number of things are coming out of this, and let me try and get them in order. But the first one I wanted to get out. First of all, I said that, you know, there are other legal minds that have hailed this particular decision. You didn't get around to commenting on that.
I would.
And then, okay.
I would.
Okay. And then also, look, in your home state, your beloved home state of Kwara, you saw the jubilation.
By section, the beneficiaries of Saraki's unmitigated disaster in poverty, corruption, and perversion of anything. Look, I wonder as to what is wrong with our people. But when I look at the age of those who were jubilating, if you look at most of them, you find them from about 40 downward. They never knew anything about good governance. It's all that they knew had been military. So they don't even understand
what the issues are. Really.
What the issues are. Here was a man. Do you know that in Kwara State, there are workers that have not been paid for 6-7 months, pensioners that have not been paid for 15 months. They are paying them sometimes 25%, sometimes 30%, and yet
there was this jubilation.
And this jubilation. It is those who are benefiting from its awkward very strange chemistry of politics. Yeah. And just on 20th of May, there was a summit in Kwara, and I delivered the lead address titled Political Dynasty, Dynasty Politics and the Challenge of the Modern State. And that's what you have. When Kwara Saraki was governor of Kwara State, he said he established a Songhai farm with Kwara State public money. Today, the cry out in Kwara State, when I last went there, is that that place has been turned into virtually personal edifice.
Okay, but on this case, how about the point about lawyers who also know the law hailing this whole matter?
Well, you will find them. Remember, about almost 4 or 5 months ago, I raised this matter very squarely on the platform of Movement for Value Restoration. The fact of the matter is that the Nigerian judiciary had been so battered. The hallowed, credible name associated with Nigerian judiciary had been so subverted by a clique of senior lawyers who have been the conduit pipe through which illegal money have been fixed into the accounts of judges presiding over their clients' cases. Some of them have been tried now by EFCC. There's no because it's a public matter. Rikitafa is, Obla is. Many of them, and the people of their men, their colleagues, because they are greatest beneficiaries of this terrible shame of our land.
But this matter is coming out because they won. If they hadn't won, you know, that is that side. If they hadn't won, then all of this wouldn't apply.
No, but I must remind you that, you see, what this ruling equally called for is the determination that there is a fundamental reason why Nigerian judiciary must be overall in the greatest interest of our country. Okay. Particularly, the institution called the National Judicial Council, as it is presently composed, that cannot be sustained. A situation where the presiding Chief Justice of Nigeria, the chairman, has been found to be compromisable. Justice Katsina Alu, retired Chief Justice of Nigeria, utilized that position ignobly to frustrate Justice Salami from remaining in office and to serve his time as the President of the Court of Appeal. After Justice Katsina Alu had asked Justice Salami to disband the committee, the appeal committee that was going to pronounce on the Sokoto gubernatorial election. And Justice Salami honorably said he was not going to do so. The next thing was that Justice Katsina Alu, the chairman of the NJC, suspended him from office, and he kept him suspended until his retirement age arrived. Okay. That was what it is.
So you felt that was playing dirty?
And so the fact that the NJC chairman is the one who presides, the Chief Justice of Nigeria is the one who presides over the NJC, and is the one who will invite other agencies who need to have contribution, to have their members into the NJC. If they nominated anybody that is not suitable to him, he can reject that. So he has the majority in the constituency. He can do and undo. And that's what has happened to us.
Okay.
To the extent that the current NJC had no, it had abandoned decorum as to what the purport for which NJC was set up. It was supposed to be an administrative body that would defend, protect, and promote the rule of law in Nigeria. While judges were suspended from office for criminal matters, he went ahead and ask them to return to court.
Yes.
What kind of situation would that one lead us to?
But you're not by any of this wiping out the Nigerian judiciary system, are you?
I'm saying that the elite, those who are presiding it at the topmost, have considered a stain, a major stain on the judiciary. They are eminent, responsible, honest, I would say, very credible people in our judiciary. But the elite, those who preside over the affairs, have been complicit in the corruption and perversion of the society. And it is what has happened is that many of us couldn't have believed that you come to this day, because Nigeria judiciary was an institution of beauty and honor, even in the Commonwealth. That was why you had the likes of Justice Udo Udoma, the likes of Justice Aguda, being requested for by the international community and in our continent. Even the Dr. Oluwanagoruwa wrote the constitution of one of the member states. Retired Justice, the man from Abeokuta, was a judge, Justice Bolaji. But that is not the judiciary, the Commonwealth, and the African continent knew about. Where you will find a judge in a court that can find 2 billion in his account, and is still in the judiciary up to today. It is a shame.
What do you then think of the idea floated by SERAP, the Socio-Economic Rights and Accountability Project, that we need what they have called a supportive mechanism in the form of a UN-backed commission against corruption and impunity in Nigeria?
I will agree with such an agenda. The reason being that the reasoning which this tribunal gave in exonerating Saraki is not only curious, legally indefensible. How do I mean? There are charges as to the number of times that physical cash were carried from government house to Guaranty Trust Bank for the payment of loans that Saraki took from Guaranty Bank. And when they asked him, he said he was selling rice and sugar as a governor. And you know, the law is here, Money Laundering Act. There is a limit to what money, physical money you can carry, you can transfer business with. When the amount they carried up to 385 million naira deposited in an account, and Justice Danladi and co said that they didn't trace that one to him.
Yeah.
That is a very curious ruling. I'm saying that the totality of the reasoning they gave was against the rule, even against the act upon which the accused person was charged.
Okay.
Take one other example. It was presented in that court that Senator Bukola Saraki transferred $3.4 million US into one curious private card without declaration, without passing through the system that ought to pass through. And yet, the thing was passed through to his bank accounts in Fortis accounts in his own name, while he's still a governor. That is all against the public officers act. But that tribunal was wanting, I don't know what else they were looking for to say that, to make it related to Dr. Saraki.
Now, before we go on break and to open up the phones, I spoke about the jubilation that was observed in Kwara. And by the way, you saw that I was curious as to how come some of these T-shirts that we're seeing were ready? Because they take more than a few minutes to prepare. But I was going to also now refer to the jubilation within the Senate has given a lot of people concern. The way they carried on in the Senate, considering that they're all distinguished senators, it gave people a lot of concern.
I tell you what, in the entire Senate, as constituted today, at least I think I can have about 2 or 3 of them who are with us in the trenches. And there's no doubt about it, that almost about 30 to 40, about 25 to 30% of them are currently being prosecuted for criminal offense by the EFCC. So they are birds of the same feather. Former governors, many of them have been prosecuted by EFCC, senators, former commissioners or former this and that. Many of them are facing current criminal charges. So why should they not be happy? Eh?
Although there is the matter about you're innocent until proven guilty.
Well, but are they not being prosecuted? The accused persons already. It's only in Nigeria that people like that are allowed to remain in office.
Okay.
Eh? My friend, he has been silent now because he's a minority chief whip in the Senate. Shola Deyaye. Yeah? He was one of our firebrand abroad, Nadeku firebrand abroad, on Radio Kudirat. And you know, Remile Lekun Tinubu is also there. Before she succeeded in going out, the day they wanted to arrest her husband, she fell into a ditch. She too had some crisis, so she paid some sacrifice. Apart from those 2, I don't know of anybody. These remaining ones, most of them are part of the 5 leprous fingers of Abacha's hand.
So you think that is responsible for the conduct that was seen, that a lot of people would have said, the staid kind of posture you expect of senators.
Can't you understand that many times they will follow him? They abandon the job for which they said they were elected. They'll follow him
And Senator Dino Melaye was particularly jubilant.
He will be
elated.
He must be elated.
He grabbed hold of him very much the way a coach, players grab hold of a coach, almost tossed him.
Was he not the bodyguard to the wife of Saraki when he was invited by the FCC? You can't understand where it's coming from.
Okay, let's go on a break now. Stay with us, please. We'll be back and we'll include your calls. Okay, welcome back, and we're continuing on what we started yesterday. The Code of Conduct Tribunal discharging an acquitted Senate President Shola Saraki of the 18-count charge, money laundering and related offenses, saying that there was no case. They approved Saraki's no-case submission. Okay, before we go any further, Mr. Kunle Akala from Ibadan has called in. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Go ahead, please.
Sir, this is one of the saddest days of my life. I'm over 70 now, but this is one of the saddest days of my life. Hearing that Saraki gets off the hook. Where are we heading to in this country? For God's sake, let Dasuki go home. Dasuki has no case to answer. If Saraki could get away with this, somebody that was a senator and he has already retired from, he gave up the post of governorship in Kwara, and he was getting money. He was getting his salary for months, for years. And the CCT doesn't have any clue to that. They say it's discharged. So why are you keeping Dasuki? it's only the poor that are always in jail in this country. The rich, they always go scot-free.
But Mr. Kala, you have heard that it's possible that they might be appealing. Does that give you any succor?
Which appeal, my brother? There is this is a judgment given behind the scene. My brother, Yori, this is a judgment given behind the scene. The judgment had already been concluded before coming to the open.
Okay.
I am telling you that this judgment cannot stand the test of time in a sane country. This country is sick. And I don't know where we are heading to.
All right. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Kala, for calling in. Okay, you heard it from there, but you were going to comment on the matter that T-shirts were ready immediately this judgment was announced. Maybe they were positive-minded and so had done this months before.
I hope you will understand that even Mr. Justice Danlad himself had been under investigation, and there have been terrific underground understanding.
Allegedly, between himself and his personal assistant.
There is evidence, no doubt, that something is missing because the pronouncement is totally against the laws establishing the EFCC, the Code of Conduct, and all other graft agencies. The provisions contained therein were totally ignored in this judgment. So the presiding judges decided to promote undue technicalities over matters of major public policy to the detriment of the Nigerian people. That was what they did. In other words, I dare say, were this judgment to stand, it cannot stand any public scrutiny in any higher court.
Okay.
Otherwise, honestly, the shame of our country, if we don't do so, is that you must go and release all criminals in their prison. It is a fact that is indisputable now that the rich people, there is a separate law for them. The poor people have separate laws for them.
And this will be in tandem with what Serap has put out in a statement that the outcome of the Saraki case, I'm quoting directly now, the outcome of the Saraki case sends a damaging message that suspected corrupt leaders can get away with their crimes while keeping their stolen assets. Many would-be corrupt leaders may now see engaging in acts of corruption a risk worth taking. But I've got to bring in Mr. Hassan, who has been holding on in Lekki. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Mr. Yori.
Thank you for calling in.
Good morning, Mr. Ayo Okwadokun.
Thank you very much, sir.
You see, today, this is a glaring injustice against Nigerians.
Thank you.
The generality of Nigeria, this is an insult to the collective intelligence of Nigeria by the judiciary of Nigeria.
Oh.
If you have tears, please start shedding them for Nigeria. Right from the beginning of this administration, that came into being under the mantra of change to fight corruption and insecurity. Our first problem are the judiciary. The second problem are the National Assembly.
No doubt.
And now everything now is coming to play itself out. It's a script that is playing itself out. That the two enemies of Nigeria, the two enemies within the three organs of government of Nigeria are judiciary and National Assembly. And let me point one thing to all of us, to our hearing. You see, we have three industries, very powerful corrupt industries in Nigeria. The first one is corruption. The second one is impunity. The third one is blackmail. And the fourth one of it is Boko Haram. Let me elaborate it to everybody. Do you know what is happening? Saraki has been playing the blackmail thing right from the beginning of his tenure as the president of the Senate. He played that trick that led to the ouster of the first chairman of EFCC by bringing somebody to frame him up.
Oh.
And now we are seeing another thing play out because he did it with Umar. And the Umar, unfortunately, he fell into it. Because he said, first of all, before granting the judgment, that Umar asked him to be bribed. And now we are seeing Umar falling to the ditch of blackmail of Saraki. We have to be very careful in Nigeria. We are very good in blackmailing people to throw our lives. We should live above board. We should make sure we don't allow people to stampede us.
Okay. Mr. Hassan, I want to thank you very much. I'm sorry for interrupting you, but I've got to make space for other callers. But thank you very much for your call. And I'm worried, Mr. Okpadukun, that what seems to be coming out is that there seems to be a perception of a conspiracy theory by members of the public who have been commenting involving the Judiciary, the National Assembly, and this is deeply worrying.
To be candid, the two institutions that you have mentioned are opposed to the campaign against corruption. They are complicit in the major perversions that are taking place in our country. Do you know that the manual for criminal prosecution that had been prepared by the Committee Against Corruption under Professor Sagi, that had been prepared by the Attorney General, had been with the National Assembly in the last 5 months? They are not ready to take the matter, to take it up. And then, you know, when the Justice Umar, without sufficient decorum, went to say that because there was no accompanying statement from Saraki, then he has no case to answer. They raised, the defense raised that matter during the trial, and the matter went to the Court of Appeal. The Court of Appeal ruled that there was no need for further statement because the declaration of asset form itself is on oath. What Justice Umar had done is a tribunal that is inferior to the Court of Appeal. Is now that he has overruled the Court of Appeal in this instance. Can you see the damage? Under the rule of stare decisis on which Nigerian judiciary operates, that cannot happen. It is so indecent. Let me say one more thing.
Sure.
Look, in the declaration form, when Saraki took 375 million loan from Guaranteed Trust Bank between 3,000 and 2003 2007, he did not declare that in his form, and yet Justice Danladi said nothing. He had no case to answer. Ditto, the house he bought with 380 million naira in London with cash that were being taken from government house to the bank. The account officer,
is that allegedly again?
It was part of the charges against him. The account officer, his account officer came to the tribunal to specify how he collected the money, how the people who were giving him the money, and that money was transferred out of the country illegally, and the property that was declared, that was bought, was not equally not declared.
Yet the judge ruled no case.
Said no case. So you can see how damning, how repulsive, how ungodly they can be, and how really uncommitted to the rule of law such a group of people can be. They are not suitable to remain in the hollow chamber of Nigeria Judiciary.
Do you think the judiciary will be feeling or can feel any pressure as a result of what we've heard emanating from the presidency, that they are highly disappointed in this judgment, which is an unusual step for their arm to comment on you know, what goes on in other hands. But they think these are strange times, and so they've made this statement that they are seriously concerned.
Well, it is not only that they should show concern, they must act with dispatch. The Nigerian state, the executive must act with dispatch. I'm repeating it. The Nigerian state cannot afford to delay, to deter.
Okay.
They must act with dispatch because this is the only thing going on for this government.
The fight against corruption.
The fight against corruption.
And it looks like it's been rubbished.
It's been rubbished. And if they succeeded, if Saraki succeeded, in going with this murder, oh, all of us are finished.
Metaphoric murder.
Metaphoric murder. Because
but Mr. Bola Kale in Ikeja, good morning, sir.
Yeah, good morning, Uncle Yori.
Thank you for calling, sir.
Yeah, good morning, Baba Padokun.
Good morning, my dear brother.
Yeah, just basically had something to support Baba Padokun on Songa Farm. Yeah, I'm from Kwara State, and I had the opportunity to know little if not more on Songa Farm. Farmers, and the target farmers were brought to Kwara State. Each of the farmers was provided with $250,000, apart from the 1,000 hectares of land for each. And if you know the location of Kwara State very well, Kwara North happened to be the agricultural location of Kwara State. The 30,000 hectares of land were given to all these farmers. $250,000 loan was taken for each of the farmers. And all these things were later calculated and converted to 25% of the equity of the business, PPP. And if you know the implication of that, even though in a PPP, the private sector started to bring more to the table. So they use public funds to finance the business and at last give out all the business to the farmer. Now let me say another thing. Cargo terminal of the Lorry Airport was built to facilitate the product of Songa Farm. If you go to the cargo terminal now, that place is as good as a place for goats and sheep to sleep. What are we talking?
Yeah.
This is a government that, apart from, I'm talking of Bukola Saraki, 8 years governor. Apart from 17 billion naira bonds we took, this is the time the oil was booming that they are collecting huge amount as allocations. We talk of Artificial College. Artificial College is draining the revenue of the state because this is a business that the government needs to continue financing it. If you go there, most of the people schooling there, they are being financed by the government. My brother, thank you, Baba Okwadoko. There's a lot to say some other times.
Indeed.
Thank you, Uncle Yori.
Thank you very much for calling in. Now let me come to the other matter that is worrying, which is that I just said the federal government has actually commented on this ruling. Now I just remember that, wait a minute, the federal government, is an APC, led government. The Senate president is a member of APC. In fact, he's this number 3 in the country in terms of hierarchy, the protocol they do. So you have quite frankly, we have a mess on our hands.
Not only a mess, I'm saying that it exposes the underbelly or the level of degeneration or the political space in Nigeria to the entire world. Now, you should not be surprised that many of these shady characters who have been invited, interrogated by the EFCC and other graft agencies, or have been prosecuted, they have resorted now to decamping from their various political parties into APC. They now decamp regularly, and they believe that they can be saved thereby. So it is what they have turned APC into, therefore, is that it's becoming a refuge for scoundrel of various dimensions, perverts of various formations.
Which would be a calamity if true. If true, that would be a calamity.
But that's what it is turning into.
But
look at the number.
I beg your pardon for interrupting you. Let me bring in Mrs. Oyolong, calling in from Ojodu. Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning, Uncle Yori.
Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning, Uncle Ayo.
Thank you, ma.
Please go ahead.
Please, I want to talk to Uncle Ayo.
Okay.
Yes,
Good morning, Uncle Yori.
Good morning, ma'am.
Please, I want to say something to Uncle Ayo.
Sure.
He should not be offended if I say I'm sorry that he's a lawyer. In those days, people are being judged by our rulers. If these people, the lawyers, the judge, the justice, if they cannot adhere justice to people according to their offense, why can't they just eradicate that profession and give it back to our Obas to be judging us like olden days? Because our people in Nigeria, they've turned everything upside down. Look at the man in Delta State. Look at the way people are celebrating him. And, you know, what they are doing is that they are teaching the young ones the wrong ones, the wrong thing. If a generation has failed, do we have to kill our children to follow what we are doing? It's not fair. It's not fair. In Kogi State, they started that cement, that Dangote cement with public money. Later, it was turned to a private something. Yes. Look at what is going on in Kwara too with that farm. It's not fair. Why are they doing this? Do they have the fear of God?
No.
But historically, if you heard about how these Saraki people got to Lawrence, people that can jettison their heritage, their town, and become another, I don't know, generation from Nigeria. They can do anything for money. God will judge all of us.
Thank you very much for calling in, ma'am. There seems to be a great despondency out there as a result of this ruling. People feel that it wasn't fair.
It cannot last, Yori.
The ruling cannot stand for too long.
It cannot stand. It can't stand the scrutiny of real legal provision. The law that established even that body itself, the tribunal, everything, the judgment was against its own laws. That is the truth of the matter. But so I think when the prosecution proceeds to the higher court, you will see that the thing will fall terrifically.
Okay.
Let me tell something.
I wonder what your thoughts are on what we've also heard, that the EFCC itself might have been deficient in its prosecution of the case through no fault of its own. I don't know.
That may be possible in some instances, but in this instance, I am confident. I follow the proceedings very well, and you have this young man, Rotimi from the best of intention, without
that is Rotimi Jacobs.
Without exaggerating. He will be perhaps one of the best prosecutors we have in Nigeria today.
I see.
And he's very careful. Everything he brought into that tribunal as evidence and as witness performed excellently well, as they were expected to.
Okay.
All that had happened was that there was a determination by the judiciary, because of the complicit nature of how the presiding judges themselves had been captured. So corruption is fighting back.
I have to add the word allegedly.
Allegedly, yes. Allegedly.
Yes.
But
yes,
no,
yes.
the truth that must be said.
Yes.
The truth must be said that
I don't want
after
to lose
the allegation against Umar,
yes,
he had become something else. You know, 2 times the Saraki's the defense group asked him to rescue himself from presiding over the matter. Yes. And the matter went even up to the Supreme Court.
Okay,
so you can understand why now, at the end of the day, what has happened. Because I got to take Lawrence, who's been waiting to comment on the matter
from Lambe in Ogun State. Good morning, Mr. Lawrence.
Uncle Yori, how are you?
Thank you for calling in, sir.
I'm Baba Yo. How are you? Good morning, sir.
Thank you, my brother. Good morning.
On the issue of CCT, the day that judgment was delivered is the saddest day for me as a Nigerian, and it's just like hope is lost. How can a judge use the letter and the spirit of the law to ensure the wrongdoer in society escape justice? What kind of society are we living? And some lawyers celebrating that Saraki has win.
Yeah.
I cry for this generation. I cry for this country.
Well, thank you.
Number two, Okoyori, please.
Quickly,
Number
please.
two.
Quickly.
Quickly. When the Mr. President is a little bit slow in appointing the Chief Justice of Federation, everybody is making noise here and there. And you can see the result now. They won't support this change, this fight against corruption. They are not interested, my dear brother.
Thank you very much. I got to interrupt you. I apologize for doing so, but I've completely run out of time.
Can I tell?
But maybe what you
illegal issue.
And also comment on whether hope is lost or not, because we have only seconds. Only seconds.
Before I go to that, proof of facts, evidence in section 122, subsection 1, that no fact of which the court shall take judicial notice under this section needs to be proved. The act provides that the court shall take judicial notice of 10 facts as contained. That is to say, Justice Deladi was wrong in law to say that because there was no additional statement from Saraki, therefore
the case was void.
The case was void.
Well,
I wanted to establish that.
Thank you very much. And we've completely run out of time. But it's an important point that you've established in terms of the law. We completely run out.
You are talking about whether.
But we don't have time anymore.
Okay.
But you've indicated that there is hope.
There is hope because this government, they have an abandoned duty to themselves. They can't. There's nothing for them to present to the public as to whether or not they have failed or they are succeeded. Okay. If they do not pursue this matter to the logical conclusion, or because all other matters, already people who are opposed to them, they said the campaign against corruption is a ruse, is a gimmicks. So if they allow this one to go, then good luck.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Ayo Okpadokun, convener, Coalition of Democrats for Electoral Reform. I appreciate your perspective on the issue and also insights into the case. And also your main plank, which is that you are very doubtful that this ruling can stand the test of legality.
It cannot.
Thank you very much. That's our program. I'm Yori Folaren. Do have a great weekend. Bye-bye for now.